used to looking at the lens. Okay.
So the lens, not the monitor.
Got it.
Sorry, you can do it. I trust you.
Stare at it.
Hello and welcome to this thing called church. Today is Wednesday, January 19th, 2022, our first episode of the year. Yay!
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Gosh, it already feels like it's been 6 months. Is this year over yet? Because it just seems long already. We're 3 weeks in. So how were your holidays? Let's recap on that because it's been a while.
Oh, gosh, they seem like...
I know.
It does seem like a year ago.
You guys were here pretty much all of the whole week of Christmas.
Yeah, and then after, too.
Right. Yep. How did that all go?
I think it went well.
That's fine, yeah.
Christmas Eve was wonderful. It was great to be
Yeah.
together and saw lots of people. Music was super. So
Got to light the candles.
Yeah.
That was really
I heard a
nice.
really good sermon like 5 times, so that was good.
yeah,
I heard a really good sermon 4 times. Time, I don't know.
not so much. I thought it was a great weekend. And
How was there a good turnout for Christmas morning? Because
Yeah,
that was on a Saturday.
kind of what I expected.
Yeah.
I don't know. There were 30
was
or
very
40
sweet.
people. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was interesting. A lot of the folks who came, they had a reason for being there, other than just showing up, like a personal reason for wanting to be with others gathered.
wow.
So it was not intentional. I'd love to think that we were like that smart, but really, I guess we can chalk it up to the Holy Spirit that it was pastoral care in a way that I didn't anticipate.
Okay.
For a number of people who just needed to be present with others
That's awesome.
on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful service.
We had communion.
We
Oh,
did.
wow.
Yeah, it's really sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
And another sermon. Good one.
yeah,
I thought
a
you
different
were-
sermon.
Okay, so the Sunday, then the Sunday you read I thought there was
Yeah,
going to
Sunday
be more
was
poetry.
the poetry kind of
Okay,
thing.
so Christmas Day you had a sermon.
hmm John 1.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So it was brief. I mean, it was short. It was like 10 minutes. But yeah, it was a good weekend.
Good weekend.
And then right back at it.
I know. So
Yeah.
what time did you guys get up to open gifts for you to get to church on time for 9:00?
You got up way early.
It was ridiculously early.
Yeah, but you don't have little kids. I figured you
No,
could do
my-
yours when you got back.
Well, we would have, but we go to my mom and dad's for lunch.
Oh.
So, and Salem and McCann needed to they needed to be with his family some that morning. So we did get up early. They all came over to the house by, I don't know, I don't recall. It was like 7:00, 7:15.
Okay.
So I was up by 5:45.
Wow.
I was not up that early.
I went to bed at like 1:30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever we got home. And
I know.
yeah. So the next day I had to apologize to Kim. I said, hope your family didn't think that I didn't want to be there, but I was basically comatose. I was just trying to stay awake.
And you still had the sermon the next day. Like
Yeah,
you still
yeah,
had
yeah.
one more to go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we had a service on Sunday, so.
Oh my gosh. So
And then,
yeah.
yeah.
Were
It's
your
like being
kids
at a
up-
church lock-in. You know, like when you come in
Yes.
the next day and you just feel like you're kind of in a soupy thing. Yeah, my kids, my youngest, 12-year-old, he got up. 12-year-olds today?
Yay.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, he got up early, like the old days. Our teenage daughter was not so thrilled to get up.
Right.
So, but she came to church. She came to
Yeah,
church with
she
me.
did.
She
Yeah.
did on
Mhm.
Christmas? Oh, Anna Liz, way to go.
Yeah.
Sorry, Anna Liz. Well, we struggled because all three were in the 11:00 service.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think we got home because by the time the 11:00 service was over and then you help clean
Clean
up
up.
and then everyone still wants to socialize, it was like 1-ish.
It's late.
It
you
is.
can't go like right to bed.
No, and then we also we don't bring any gifts out. Like we don't put gifts under the tree at all until everyone's asleep. So
Yeah.
then
us
you're
too.
like, oh, we got to put everything out. And like, yeah.
Kim was still wrapping something. when I, yeah, because she came to the
Oh, yeah,
11,
she was at the 11 too.
service, and
Yeah.
She was at the
I
1
think
and
she-
the 11.
mm-hmm. Yep,
That's
she's pretty committed.
yeah.
Wow.
Hmm.
Well, good job
Thanks.
to all that, and now it's
Well,
in
and
your-
I mean, there are a lot of people
Right,
that
there's
make
a
that
lot.
go. I'd
There's-
love some Sunday just to get everybody up front and say, anyone who had anything to do with helping us have worship today, come stand up here.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it
wow.
would be
on any
it-
given Sunday.
on any given Sunday,
Yeah.
not just like a big holiday, but it would be amazing the numbers of people that it takes to
Put it together.
get stuff done.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah.
awesome. You went to Dollywood then.
Yeah. We went to see the lights at Dollywood. It was
Yeah.
really pretty. It was nice. And we just hung out in a little condo that Cindy's parents had for us.
Yeah.
So it was lovely. One day I slept the entire day.
Well, that's what
I got up, had breakfast, went back to bed.
the 27th.
Yeah, it was the 27th. They went back to sleep. Yeah, we had lunch, then back to sleep, and then dinner, and then back to sleep.
Wow.
That's my dream. That's retirement for me.
Sleep all day?
Sleep all day.
No.
Just get up to eat.
No.
Cindy and Anna went antiquing, which is a verb. I didn't.
Yes.
Or I guess
Yes.
it's not a verb, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
an activity.
yeah. There were lots of interesting things for my daughter to see in Tennessee that she'd never seen in North Carolina. Like a preponderance of Confederate flags everywhere, and
Oh.
all the antique stores, and
Oh.
guns, and knives, and things like that. So,
We do have antiquing in North Carolina.
Do we?
It's just not locally.
Okay.
Yes, there
I
are
didn't-
places.
Yeah, there are places.
Yeah. Mm.
mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
We could take you.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Did you go anywhere after?
Over,
you went to
yeah,
to
Kim
the
and I
beach?
we went to Boone for a few
Okay.
days, and Eli went with us. Kim can work from anywhere since she works from home, so she said, I'll just work from Boone. And he wanted to see friends because, of course, all of his friends are there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it gave him a chance to hang out with some people, and we went to dinner for the New Year with Abby, who lives in Boone, and dinner one of our favorite places, and then had a quiet night.
Mm-hmm.
Said yay for 2022,
Yeah.
and then
I don't even think we were awake for it.
then
That
Eli
was
had
nice.
COVID, and they were like,
Oh.
"Boo, 2022."
Yeah, that escalated quickly.
It went down. It didn't take long.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately he did. He's tried so hard to be careful and to avoid it, and felt so bad for him. But
And he's okay.
yeah, he's doing fine. Yeah, he felt crummy for 3 or 4 days, but kind of stayed up in his room and read and played PlayStation and
Mm-hmm.
watched weird movies. And
When you say it that way, it kind of sounds fun.
had a little COVID vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
COVID
no, he did feel
vacation.
bad. He had the aches and pains and
Mm-hmm.
congestion, but he is back at school and
Awesome.
back on his feet. So,
Yeah.
and the rest of us avoided it, so we're
Awesome.
good.
Yes. Awesome. Any New Year's resolutions? Did you set any? Do you make any? You don't normally. Do you?
Not really resolutions. It's always the same stuff, right? Like every day, I
Yeah.
should get more sleep.
Yes.
I should stop eating that.
Yeah.
I should exercise more. I should really turn the TV off and read.
I say my
it's
re-
like the same stuff.
I say my resolutions for Lent. You know,
I know. Well, you know what? I kind of was doing that too.
give me a couple more months, and then
Yeah. Yeah.
You'll really hit. You'll be hardcore when Lent comes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Cold
I'm hard.
showers.
But this year was different for me. I usually don't do New Year's resolutions, and I'm not necessarily doing a resolution. I'm just doing a reset for the month of January. Like I'm off social media. I'm off sugar. I'm trying to drink more water, trying to just like exercise more. Like I'm just trying, just a reset. Oh, and
It's going to be grouchy.
I already noted that yesterday when I threw a candy bar at her.
yeah, I know, that's right, you did. I'm like, I'm off sugar. Yeah, and I'm off alcohol too. So the sugar and the alcohol.
I'm going to work from home.
Same here.
How long is this going to last?
Your poor
Until
kids.
January. Yeah, I know.
Just for okay. So February
And
1
John. He'll be in the garage for the entire month of January.
Yeah, I know. Especially when we had to quarantine last week. And so we had to quarantine last week, and then we had a snowstorm, and so now they're still home. So I really picked the wrong month not to drink.
That's a line from that movie Airplane, isn't it?
Oh gosh. Anyway, but we were
Yeah.
talking about one resolution that people maybe could have this year is to start a small group study with us. We will begin our book study on the Prodigal God the 30th.
Yep.
But doesn't it start too on the 20th for some
So
small
I think the
groups?
small groups are starting on the 23rd because
Okay.
there's kind of or sometime around the 23rd, because there's sort of an introduction and there's a way to enter into the book and the study.
Right.
But then the sermon series will actually begin on the 30th.
Gotcha.
Right.
So, but either way, but encourage folks to pick up the book and read along. And
Yeah. So it's by Timothy Keller. He's written a ton of books,
Yeah.
and he's a pastor.
Yeah,
and
in New York.
Yeah, he's a great writer. I've actually read some of his other stuff, which is like, I know this name. But I loved his introduction, and I think for those who may be intimidated by starting a book study or not knowing what a book study entails, his introduction reads, "This short book is meant to lay out the essentials of the Christian message, the gospel. It can therefore serve as an introduction to the Christian faith for those who are unfamiliar with its teachings or who may have been away from them for some time." And then he writes, "Many lifelong Christians believe they understand the basics of the Christian faith quite well and don't think they need a primer." And that's what I loved about this. It's like, even though you know the Bible
Yeah.
and you know the story, but it's always like, I love the word, the primer. Like you still need it. And so reading his introduction was really exciting. Like it really gets you like, oh, this is more than just reading
Yeah.
a story in the Bible. And then even looking at the contents, what I loved about that is that it's taking the story and taking the lesson, but also applying it to everyday life. And that's what I'm always looking for, is like, okay, you preach a great sermon, but now what do I do with that?
Right.
Or even like with the Bible story, like, what do I do with that? How do I apply it? And so some of the chapters and the discussions, I'm like, oh, this is going to be really good. So I'm excited. If you are interested in joining the book study, reach out to Sherry Carpenter. She can put you with a group, but you can still also do it without being in a group.
Yeah, you don't have to be a part of a group, but I think there are 19 small groups, something like that.
Wow. Yeah.
Who are reading together, and it's rather than resolution. I think you think about and we've talked a lot about this, but what are the practices that we should take up that help us be more faithfully the people God's called us to be? And I think I shared this with a friend the other day. We were lamenting the sort of state of the American church and the struggles that we face, and worship is really important. Like coming and gathering regularly for worship, week in and week out. It sets a rhythm and a pattern to life that I think it helps us to remember all those times we're not in worship, to keep the focus on God, and God is the center of our life. So worship really matters. But Wesley was clear, as have been all of the saints of the church, worship alone is not enough. Right? That 1 hour a week is you need more. And so one of the things we need, and Wesley was so good at this, was life in community together, where we're supported and held accountable and encouraged and pushed a bit, maybe by others, to go a little further and deeper than we would otherwise go. And so this is just one of the ways to do that. It's not the only way, and there are other small groups at the church and other groups you can be a part of. But I hope folks, if they're thinking about something, like I'd like 2022 to maybe be different. And well, here's something you can do to maybe help it be, at least begin in a different kind of way.
Had you read this before?
I had read it before. I'd read Tim Keller before. He's, in full disclosure, he comes from a Calvinist tradition. Well, I shouldn't say that. He comes from a Reformed tradition, which is a little different than us as Methodists. And But in this particular book, there's really not hints of that much in his
Right.
thinking. And I mean, it's pretty solid even for us Wesleyans and sort of Anglican Catholics. And so I love his writing. He's a really gifted preacher. You can find him on YouTube if you want to listen to his sermons and like TED Talk kind of things. So yeah, he's good.
Have you read it?
I read the introduction. My wife actually took this before I even got a chance to, and she's read the whole thing, so she gives it a good 2 thumbs up. When I read the introduction, like you, the primer thing, it made me think of a sports analogy of like getting back to the fundamentals,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah,
funny because I'm not a sports guy, but like, and to go to your
But
analogy,
they're fundamentals in music.
There are fundamentals in music. There's scales and things like that. But like, if your child is on a sports team, you don't just go to the games and not show up for the practices.
Right.
And this is really, of all the book series that we've done, I'm most excited about. The other ones are fine. I'm not trashing the other ones.
Right.
But this has really been, I mean, just the first introduction, I've just been excited about this.
Yeah, that's a different level of energy when you read it compared to the other ones. And it's, I mean, I hate to say it, it is fairly, it's a short book, and then it's not very long.
No.
No.
I mean, it's not very long.
It's very accessible
Yeah.
too. It's written
Yeah,
for it really is written for anyone to pick it up and get something out of it.
yeah. And it's got normal sized font,
Yeah.
which is
Right. That's
helpful.
very helpful. You don't have to read it like this.
I don't have to
Old
put on
people font.
readers.
Yeah.
Right. So,
And I think it's interesting. If you've never done a book study, it really does. I mean, I know people are busy all the time, but I think most of these classes are doing Zoom, right?
There are a
yeah.
number of them that are on Zoom.
So you could do
Yeah.
it from your living room, but to read a book with somebody and then they pick up on things that you don't pick up on, or vice versa, just learning together. And I'm an introvert, so being around people's, believe it or not, challenging for me sometimes. But it's so great. Not you too. It's so great hearing people kind of say, "Well, this is what I heard," and and having that conversation.
Yeah.
yeah.
And it builds that community that we really right now need. I think that's really desperately needing community.
Yeah. This was, one of Wesley's means of grace is holy conferencing. And a lot of times in Methodism, when we talk about conferencing, people think like annual conference and general, the big
Yes.
gatherings. But really what Wesley meant was kind of holy conversation, where a small group of Christians gather to conference with one another to talk about faith and life
And check up on each other.
and check up on each other. Yeah.
Right.
Now they were serious about it, So
Oh,
they
yeah.
would ask you every week, like, what sins have you committed this week?
Right.
Oh God.
Like we should ask you every week, like,
And
how's that
basically-
reset going? Are you doing okay?
Yeah, and basically, are you going to stop doing that? And so,
That's next book series.
Yeah, that's the next book series.
Yeah, we're going to start doing that.
but
It's like Festivus, airing of the grievances,
yeah. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
We'll see how pray for the sermon writing. We'll see how that
Right.
goes.
I mean, yeah, you've got
It's
It's
already
a
written
lot-
for you. Just read out of here, man. What are you doing?
Cindy already
Turn to page
highlighted.
30.
Yeah, look at this. Cindy's already highlighted
Cindy
it.
underlined all the key points already.
You're good to go.
Kevin doesn't need to
I'm just reading that.
I'm not too worried about week one because week one begins in a little bit different place, but I am a little concerned about 4 weeks in the same
story,
parable.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I hope I don't say the same thing every week.
We had a meeting last week. I'm like, how am I supposed to pick new hymns for the same sermon
that's
service
right.
same scripture.
yeah.
yeah.
So
It's not the same scripture every week,
No,
but
it's
it's the
not.
same story.
Right,
Clearly,
right.
It's
Yeah. We will not read Luke that parable. It's in Luke 15. We will not read the entire parable every Sunday for 5 weeks. There'll be bits and pieces of that parable and bits and pieces of other scripture that relate to a portion of the parable. So
Yeah.
to mix it up a bit.
And I will say, I learned something. This word prodigal, I always thought
Yes.
that meant like you're leaving town, you're wayward.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean, he says that in the
No.
beginning.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean wayward. It means extravagant,
reckless.
reckless.
Recklessly extravagant.
Yeah.
So, I've never read this, but lots of people have told me to read this book.
Yeah.
And just like I am, whatever, But it's really good.
Yeah,
And
I
I'm-
love Karen read from the introduction. I love at the end of the introduction, and I won't read, but I love he says that basically in this parable, Jesus is showing us the God of great expenditure,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Who is nothing if not prodigal. In other words, extravagant towards us, His children. God's reckless grace is our greatest hope. A life-changing experience and the subject of this book.
Oh.
I just love the idea that God's reckless grace is our greatest hope. And in a world where I think folks are looking for something to that is hopeful, right? There's so much that seems not hopeful.
Yes.
So this redirects our attention maybe
Yeah.
back so that we don't lose sight of the fact that God's grace, God's reckless, extravagant, prodigal grace is, in fact, our greatest hope. And so for that reason, we can live differently in 2022 if we keep focused on that.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it. Should be good.
Great way to start off a new year.
Yep.
Yeah.
That already seems like it should be over. Again, so if you are interested, reach out to Sherry Carpenter. And you know what? You don't even, you could start your own small group with
Right.
your friends. You don't need to necessarily
Doesn't
do
need
it
the
with our
imprimatur
groups.
of Davidson UMC
Ooh,
on
good
it.
word.
Just I worked that in.
Good job.
Someone asked once about they were doing something in their community, their neighborhood, and they said, "Shouldn't we get a committee to bless this or to give us?" I said, "No, the committee will kill it. Just go do
Yes.
it. Just keep doing it." And he said, and they struggled with the idea that in doing what they were doing, they were actually being the church.
Right.
It wasn't on an official list of things DUMC does, and yet Davidson UMC was out there doing this thing because they were doing it.
Right.
So if folks want to start 10 new small groups and we know nothing about it,
That's great.
That's fine.
Yeah,
Have at it.
yeah.
Get your neighbors together, your family, read the book together.
Right.
You have God's blessing to go and be the church.
And I think
So-
teenagers could do this if you wanted to do it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's accessible, like you said.
Yeah.
Or somebody said. I don't know if you
Yeah.
said it. But it's very accessible.
It is, yep.
And all of our sermons, we recap them anyway on the website. So you don't even have to watch through the whole thing. You could just read I'm sorry, nothing against the music and the rest of the sermons. But
That's the Cliff Notes versions of the sermon.
Right, exactly. They'll have the sermon. Well, you can do the sermon recap and you can also do the full sermon and then you can also do the full worship.
Wow.
We have something for everybody at whatever intensity you'd like to be at.
Watch the whole service.
Watch the whole service, yeah.
Anyway, okay. In other things we have going on, I know it's a new year. We've got this Sunday at 4:00. We have a conversation on mental health and awareness with the Davidson Cares group. They will be here in person, and I think it's 2 hours, and they'll do a presentation, and there will be small groups as well, and it sounds really interesting and really good. It's not just for youth. It is for adults.
Everybody.
It's for everybody. There is some strong content, so maybe not kids in elementary school, but it is for, I would say, teenagers up. So there's registration for that on the website. We have a new members class getting ready to kick off, I think January 23rd. That's this Sunday too.
That's this Sunday.
So it's two classes. So you can sign up for that on the website or reach out to Charlotte Thomas. And then on the 30th, we have a Connect Cafe event in the fellowship hall in between services that will be talking about worship. This is your event.
I know, excited.
And ways that people can get involved, whether it's through the choirs or helping, just like you were said earlier, making worship happen. There's a lot of different areas that people can get involved in. So if you are looking to maybe start this year, getting involved with the church, that's a great way to get some information. So yeah, that's all I have.
Speaking of worship, in that I'm just mindful that our confirmands have begun.
Yes.
I think there are close to 40 of them.
Yes.
That was really exciting to see that many young people who were coming to spend several months together to learn about their faith. And so I just encourage folks to pray for our confirmands, their families,
And
their
the leaders. Yeah.
Those who are praying for them and teaching them, Evan and Brittany and others. And what a great experience.
Yeah. I'm going through it again. So this is
Third time?
My third time.
Well, fourth, including the one you went to when you were a kid, right?
Well, yeah, that's true too. Yeah, yeah.
Maybe this time we'll confirm her too.
Yeah,
It's about time.
I know, but it's true. I learn, of course. I'm always trying to. I just don't have a good memory, I guess. Like I can't just quote Bible stuff,
Yeah.
but I get the gist,
Yeah.
and so it's always, and going through it the third time with actually three different
leaders. I was going to say
leaders. That's been really interesting too. They've all been
Yeah.
great in different ways, but this one definitely has a little bit more energy, I think, because last year we were still kind of under.
Yeah.
We were meeting in person, but it still kind of had a heaviness to. We're still kind of.
Right. Like, don't sit too close to that person.
Yeah.
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 Keep your mask
so,
on. Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, fortunately, there's no test, right?
No. There's no test. Thank God.
Yeah, in the Christian faith, there's not you don't have to pass a test to get in.
No.
And it's more about being formed to love well than it is to know stuff.
Yes.
Right? There are plenty of people who know stuff who don't love well.
That's a good
Right?
point too.
So
Yeah.
Wesley called that dead orthodoxy.
Mm.
Like you know all the right stuff, but your faith, you don't have a living faith. Like
Yeah.
it makes no difference in your life.
Yeah.
So
And
we
as-
don't want that.
As a lead, like I hate this. I don't like to think of myself as a leader. I'm like just helping in the class, but it's really like I always learn so much from the students going through it, even though they were just like going through it. But we try to make them feel like this is a big deal. It is a big deal.
It is a big deal.
They're
It
becoming
is.
members of the church, and this is it's not just checking a box.
Yeah.
So the youth are excited, or it's
There's an
always
energy.
exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
Well, we're excited for them. Thanks for being there for them.
mm,
You and many others.
yeah, it's a good group of leaders too.
Yeah.
It really is. We'll see how it goes at the end. But my son's in there, so we'll see. He's not in my class, thank God. But we'll see how he turns out.
May, I guess, confirmation
Yep.
Sundays
May
in
the
May.
1st.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll look
So.
forward to that. That'll be a great day.
All right. Anything else?
I think we're good.
I think we're good.
No more snow.
You just about gave Kevin a heart attack when you said what the date because I could see his mind calculating how close we are to Lent and Easter.
I know.
It's coming up.
It is.
It really
Well,
is.
but Easter is late.
Yeah.
This year.
Yeah.
It's like
the 17th, I think.
Mhm.
that's
Of
right.
April.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of April. So that
Wow.
means we'll start in March.
It's only 3 months away.
Yeah.
I think Ash Wednesday is the 2nd of March.
2nd of March.
Yeah.
Yep.
Get on it.
It's coming.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you for watching. We hope you have a great year, and we'll hang around and be part of our conversations. And we will be back in 2 weeks. Take care. You were the popcorn guy?
That was everything.
You were running the place.
Everything but the projectionist. I didn't like to do that.
And that's when you had to feed it.
It was a film.
Yeah, that was when you had to like
And we-
get the prongs right on
I
the
would
thing.
do stupid stuff too. Like, why do they trust 16-year-old? Like, what guy would you trust a 16-year-old to run your business? Like when you weren't there.
No.
That's what we would do. Like
The most important job in the entire business.
yes,
Making sure the thing that everybody
we would
came
have to
for.
rewind the film, right? And so we just have fun, and you had to stop it with like a little towel when it was done because you weren't allowed to use the brake or whatever. And so we would throw the towel at the wheels, the little thing. And one time we did it, and it broke the film, and it was everywhere. And I ran out of the projection booth, sweeping up.
I don't know what happened.
I have
was
no idea.
cleaning
Dave
up
was up there
popcorn.
goofing off. I have no idea. No idea. Also, the movie's going to be late for the next show.
And there might be some scenes that will not be visible because of the Scotch tape.
He's up there with the splicer. It's like, some blockbuster hit, Home Alone or something, and we're up there, bunch of morons, throwing towels in the little thing.